Turn it on. Okay, perfect. Okay. So welcome to the class. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the fun. This is the last class, and I just got a quick proposition for you. Instead of a break, I can go ahead, finish this off in like an hour, okay, and have you guys out of here before 7:30. Eastern time, AM Eastern time. If you guys would like. If not, we can take a break, but it's a very quick class, this one. This is more of a review, reflect, closure, and career class. So it is your call. Would that be okay? Have it out of the way, and then you guys are free as a bird the whole day? Ish. Okay. I'll
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Mark.
Sure.
All right, we'll do that. All right, so we'll take things in that perspective. We'll hopefully do the quick review and see what the last class is all about. So as I promised to you guys, this is the class of review, reflect, closure, and your careers. What is this all about, and how do we put this whole thing into perspective? Okay, what does this class mean, and how do we understand it from our different viewpoints? So nonetheless, guys, for today, what we will be looking primarily on is we're going to be talking on where we were, how we got there, and most importantly, where are we going in the future? So this is particularly important because we want to talk a little bit about the different aspects that we looked on. We want to talk about, our, learning outcome, and eventually where we are sitting. So nonetheless, guys, where were we? Let's talk about the infamous path. So the path started at January in unit number 1. We started talking about the introduction. We got that out of the way. We introduced ourselves. We started to see exactly what this class is all about and how to do the class properly. Then afterwards, we started talking about strategy. We looked at the strategic side of the business and project management and how does it fit with the company, the people, the project manager, and beyond. And that opens us up to organization. So we understand that every organization is different. And for most of it, organization means that in different outcomes, in different priorities, the organization is going to be important part of the project, because if you don't have the backing of top management, your stakeholders, your sponsor, and beyond, it's hard to kind of push for your agenda. Okay, push for your movement to actually show that your project is going to be successful. So I mentioned that there and especially when we talk about career paths, and that's where I always talk to you about that imaginary circle here. Um, I do want to emphasize that every organization is different, and you depends on if you decide to pursue, project management further. Okay, which I hope you do. But we have to understand that every company is different, and you might be working in a company where you hardly ever see any projects, but because you have a designation from project, they will use you. Other times everything you do day in day out is a project. Okay, you live, breathe, eat, and you live the project lifestyle. Okay, and we have to understand that. We have to understand that everybody has different outcomes and different perspectives, and that's where a project lies in. More or less, of course. We also did definition of the project. We decided what kind of project this is, and of course, with the help of the company, of course, we know exactly where the project is going. And then, of course, we did estimates. All right, we looked at estimation and we took that off. And of course, we did a quick U-turn middle of the semester in unit number 6. And we talked a little bit about teams. We talked about how high-powered, high professional teams are going to be. And of course, that led us into unit number 7, which is monitoring the progress, looking at the dashboard, making sure that the dashboard is going to be healthy, understanding that we need a healthy dashboard to be able to move forward. And of course, we also have to look at leadership skills and making sure that leadership skills are going to be strong and about. And of course, that also led us into outsourcing. Understood what outsourcing is all about. And of course, we realized that as a project manager, we need specialists. Okay. And of course, I told you my favorite project. If you guys remember, if you still remember in year 11, you're awesome. My favorite project to do is a bridge. Okay. I never made a bridge, but the idea of making a bridge is very complex and you may need people from the outside. Okay. And there are companies out there that they have projects and they outsource the project left, right, and center. They even outsource a project and a project manager. Okay, so there are project managers that, and I'll tell you about this in today's class. There are project managers out there who um, they work for themselves. Okay, they're entrepreneurs. Okay, true troubadours. Okay, they are, they have their own company, and there's a lot of a lot of companies that contract their project managers, and normally a project manager can handle 5, 6, 7 projects per year. Okay, not too shabby. Okay, uh, but that's outsourcing. And definitely outsourcing is a good option for some companies. We realize that everything that we do sometimes is outsourced, okay, one way or another. Um, the theoretical part about outsourcing is we don't set anything up, we don't make anything. It's all made together. And of course, outsourcing is a very important aspect in business. And then, of course, we talked about last class how to close a project properly as a leader, and that led us into unit number 10. And now the famous RRCC: review, reflect, closure, and of course your career paths. And today, this is where we are right now. Okay, we're in this particular side, and I always told you this is where it is, and you're asking me where is it? It's right here, and we're gonna be doing a bit of review of what we've done every single week. We're going to be closing our class properly. We're going to be reviewing what we have done, reflecting back on it, hopefully closing it nicely. And then we'll talk about your careers. Anything you want to talk about today, it is open for discussion. Okay. So that was where our project is going to lie in. And eventually, where are we looking at doing? All right, so to start us off, let's talk about why was this class so critical to your studies? Well, number one, you had me. That's the most important part. But number two, there is really important sides to this class. Okay, this class doesn't really, test you on many things. We didn't have a test. We had a lot of case studies, but it kind of prepared you for what to be expected, and that's the most important part. So it talked about the development of project teams and how essential a project team is, and of course the fact that a project team needs a good leader. You need to be a good project leader in the future and understand how to lead a team and manage a project. So we looked at looking at breaking down the task force, the committee, the development team, and we understand that whether you work on any of the departments, the task force department, the committee department, the team development department, or any type of project teams, you're part of the big factor of project management. And of course, this course talked about this. This course outlined strategies and outcomes of making a harmonious team and making sure that members adapt to team leadership. And of course, looking at the objectives of the course, we equipped you guys with new concepts and tools to look at the process and the techniques that are needed to effectively lead a project team altogether. And the idea behind this class is to provide you a different contemporary styles of leadership that you may pick up on in the future. So team building, best practice approach, and it can be unleashed for effective project management. So again, the course also provides, real world scenarios. We talked about, case studies and project leaderships, how to be able to assess them, how to be able to look at, communicating with your project, making sure everybody can understand where you are, and ending with the approach on creating and delivering an agile team altogether. So at the end of it all, it is the final countdown. And by creating and delivering an agile team environment, the goal was for us to understand a little bit more on where we are and where we're going into the future. Nonetheless, different review and reflections are important. So again, we welcome you all to the 11th and final unit of our course, the final countdown. Of course, throughout the course, we focus on how to develop teams, how to focus on team leadership, and how to look at the essential side of project management leadership. Okay, and how it relates back to the guide to the project management body of knowledge, or better yet known since now, the PM book. We understand that the PM book is very critical because, again, the PM book outlines the roles, the outcomes, and the ideas that are the basis of the project managers. And of course, we also understand that the PM book is the opening chart of getting the designation for PM, making sure that you understand exactly what the role is as a project manager, and eventually leading the charge later on. Okay, so we understand the human resource management side, the communication management side, and different knowledge areas altogether. So again, unfortunately, there's no new content in this week's class. Okay, and I know that while there's no new content, I know that you guys are going to be very, very, very busy with your final project, with your teamwork, and the last and final hurrah of the semester, including here and also other classes. So again, you have the analysis paper, the final paper, you have the team case study presentation, and everything will be due this week. Okay, and I will look at it, mark it, give you an outcome, and we will complete the class as need be. Also, I would need your course evaluation. Okay, very important. I want to hear back from you about what you feel about this class. Okay, so let it be known. Okay, it's a confidential. They're not going to say, "Hey, so and so said this about you." No, it's about getting to know about what you felt about the course, Yorkville, the outcome, the learning strategies, and beyond. So definitely, guys, don't forget that there is a end of the semester evaluation, and we definitely want to hear from you. Okay. All right, so let's look at what we covered. We showed you the game plan and the last and final game plan, and today we're going to show you how to finish it all together. So, nonetheless, of course, unit number one was all about project management leadership. It was introduction. We got to understand a little bit more about what this is and how this all reflects to us. So, we talked about the network relationships and the need to be managed, and how team members want to be managed so that they can successfully become team members, and also how do you, as a team leader, become a successful project manager. So that is the role that we have done in unit number one. We identified different leadership facets, different attributes in the project managers. We understand that every project management is different, every team is different, and we had to use different tools altogether. So one of the first tools we started to come up with is MBWA, management by walking around, and of course pulling up your sleeves, breaking down the doors, and getting to know exactly who's on your team. We discuss we discussed the importance of maintaining positive relationships. Sorry, guys. Maintaining a positive, healthy relationship, making sure that the relationship is going to be an important part of the project work, justifying and discussing the importance of building trust and project success, and prioritizing some of the qualities of an effective project manager. So all these things are very, very critical and very important, and that opened us up into our discussion. In unit number two, we start to develop the management project teams. we started to understand that we have to identify what we call the five-stage model of team development, the project life cycle. We start to assess the impacts of situational factors on project development and team membership. And we start to understand a little bit more on how to distinguish different functional conflicts from dysfunctional conflicts and describe the strategies for encouraging a functional conflict. And we understand that a functional conflict is good. It's healthy for us, okay? It's needed. But what we don't want is a dysfunctional conflict. We don't want a conflict that turns into mutiny, that turns into an ongoing battle, that turns into a he said she said scenario. Okay, we want to make sure that there is going to be some outcome and results altogether. So we want to discuss the challenges of managing a virtual project team, and we understand that in today's day and age, virtual project teams are very, very important, and they're going to be the moderator in the future. So we recognize the different pitfalls that could occur in project teams, and we understand that a project manager's behavior in ensuring how effective his project team is very, very important. We want to make sure that you have an effective and efficient team. You want to make sure that you can utilize everybody's resources and make sure that your project is going as scheduled. Okay. And also that opened us up into
Sorry, sir. What was the five stages again of team development? I forgot.
it was a project life cycle. So do you remember like when we started in the beginning? Do you have the lecture notes from unit number 2? We talked about the beginning, the embryo stage of project life cycle. We talked about forming a team, creating a team, and all the structures on problem solving. And we had issues on, I showed you a photo of the thunderstorms where you had the kind of like problems in the middle and getting towards the end of it all. And then by the end of it all is delivering to the customer. So scheduling was the final last problem. So it was
Okay.
like the embryo stage, the stage where you executed a project. Then when you execute a project, how you started a project, how you want to close the project and deliver the project to the final customer.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. Yeah. So we talked about those five-stage models, and we talked about how effective a team should be, and we understood that definitely, if you want an effective team, you have to develop their skills, their outcome, and eventually their styles all together. And that opens us up into the third unit where we talked about the organization. And of course, we looked at project management leadership facets. And we understand that we had to identify major leadership styles within project management. And of course, the organization helps you. Okay. And we realized that some organizations, they will do everything and anything to get the project going. Okay. And they will invest a lot of money on it. Maybe it's the next big thing. And we realize that there are some projects that are, we call the oysters. Okay. If they will succeed, okay, they will be really successful. Okay. And sometimes we have projects where we have to do it because if we don't do it, we don't get paid. Okay. So I gave you some examples of that. I gave you some outcomes that in some scenarios, you have, for example, car companies that every single year they have projects to release the new cars. And we realized that when we released the new cars, we identified the main leadership styles on realizing that some cars are there in the market because they have a market relation, they have a market outcome. Okay. And we realized that every year in Canada we have about 1 million cars being sold, new cars, and our company has like a 20% market share. So when you put these two factors together, what you realize is you realize that there is a market for your cars. So car companies like let's say Toyota will make the same car every single year, not because they're boring and unoriginal, but because they're needed. Okay. Somebody is going to go off lease. Somebody just needs a new car because their old car is breaking down. What do? They create new items. Okay, the same exact item over and over again, but put in some new areas. Then, of course, they have concept cars, which is like the crossovers, new ideas, and so forth. Maybe it would not fly, but we realized that there is some potential, and if we have proven technology around it, it can help us. So that opens us up into what we talked about in our exam, midterm, sorry. And we looked at a scenario where you have proven technology but never been applied in this outcome. And we realized that based on the leadership styles that we had, based on the company, based on the roles and varying leadership styles of project outcomes, there could be some success or failures. Okay. And we identified different, leadership areas and facets that are used in different scenarios, different outcomes and different circumstances. And we also describe the different project management leadership practices that could also be applied to project managers and how they're implemented, how they're executed, how they're created all at the same time. So that opened also us up to identifying what is a project management. And in unit number 4, when we identified the project, we also talked about creating and formulating a high-powered project team, high-performance team. So what was covered in a unit number 4 is that we start to assess the development challenges that could occur along the project life cycle. So we understood that there is a project life cycle from the embryo stage to the planning stage, execution stage, and then closure stage. We have issues, okay, and we have turmoils. We have scenarios that we want to take care of, and we want to make sure that those issues are going to be resolved and optimized so that we can get the highest performance ever. Okay, so our goal is that by utilizing what we have and realizing that in some scenarios, some companies are more successful than others. Some companies are willing to invest more than other companies. Some companies sometimes do not have the funds or the resources, and that's a fact. But other companies, they do have the resources and they do can identify the characteristics and strategies for developing a high performance project team. So our goal is to identify strategies for tracking team members' performance, providing feedback for team members and effectiveness, and also analyzing the process that can influence team behaviors and conflicts on resolving conflicts that might exist with a team. And unit number 5 was also talking about the whole budget of the project, and also understanding a little bit more about the communication side as well. So understanding that communication is an important factor for our project. We understand that communication is important. The question now is that how much do you want to communicate with your team members, with your stakeholders? It's all down to you as a project manager, but you understand that we broke apart in different scenarios the stakeholders, and we realized that some stakeholders are very important, but they simply do not care about the project. For example, like a CEO, okay? A CEO has so much on their plate every single day. They cannot simply stop and say, what's going on with that project we talked about? Unless it's a very important project, sure. But in most cases, a CEO just wants to hear that the project is going well, it's good, send them a quick email and let them know what's going on, okay? If you send me a weekly report, especially if I'm a CEO of, nonstop gibberish, it's really hard for me to digest it and realize what exactly is that project manager talking about. Okay, there's so much different factors that go in to a project. We simply do not really know what they're referring to. Okay, so it's not every day that you see a CEO sitting down on their table saying, "Oh, well, I got to read this, 50-page report on what's going on in this project." Okay, again, unless the project is very, very critical to the success of the organization, sure, they're going to read it. But in most cases, they're simply asking for what's going on. Give me a yes or no, and let me know how successful the project is heading. And as long as you do that, you should be okay. Okay. Now the question is, are you telling the person, well, the project is going well or not? That's all down to you, but you have to communicate properly. And we have to identify different inputs, tools, and techniques that are required to make sure that timely communication is done and information of the project team members and stakeholders can be completed all together. We also want to analyze the approach and plan for project communication styles based on stakeholder information, any needs being required and available, and different organizational assets that we can use. Okay, not just emails, of course, but can we use the boardroom? Can we use Zoom? Can we use different remote areas to communicate properly? And again, everybody who is a stakeholder, they're going to be different. Okay, they're going to be different communications. And I mentioned to you that some people want technicality. Maybe it's the final user or the user before the user that may need it. Possibly you have to, dub it down when you talk to the community. Community might not understand, architectural design per se or excavation, but you have to explain to them in their own words. And definitely when you determine communication management styles, you want to link it together with the enterprise environmental factors associated with it and make sure that the project could be effective as well. Okay. So definitely create a communication plan. And we talked about different communication plans from financial aspects to the success of a project, making sure that there is going to be some formulation altogether. So unit number five was kind of disputed. Unit number five was kind of like, well, is this the midterm? Is it not? Hard to say because we only have 11 weeks together. But now let's, of course, unit number six was focusing primarily as being a project manager as a change agent, and that's where teams come in. We identified the role of a project manager that they can also become a change and modify the project at any given time. So we definitely assessed how the team environment should be and the dynamics of change and how it impacts the project team members and the project management organization. Because a lot of times when you have change, it's okay, happens, okay, but at what certain point, okay? And I mentioned to you guys that when you bring in the project life cycle, under a project life cycle, what could happen here is that your project can be modified in the blueprint. Okay. So taking a blueprint, editing it a little bit, that's fine. But when we start to create it, we plan and executed it, and then we have some change. This could be very costly. Okay. So you can also only imagine that you're making a house and then the final user says, no, 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 I don't want that way. I want this way, and then you make it that way. It's like, but no, I didn't say that way. I mean this way, and then you have to go back and forth with that individual. Okay, so it can take time. Okay, so there are ways to mitigate this. Okay, a lot of times the biggest tip that I have for you from my career is get it signed. All right, get that blueprint signed, and then say, "Hey, buddy, we have unless it's like something critical, we have your signature on it." Okay, so it's not just that you want to go back and change it. Okay, you have to make sure that it's what we wanted. So there's a lot of collaboration that needs to be done with the end user, how to assess the change, how to impact the project team members and the company as a whole. We also have to talk about the input tools and techniques for dealing with change and understanding how change is done with the project, and also talk about the consequences of change. How is it dealt with? How do we implement change? How do we approve change? And ensure that any rejected change are not implemented on the project itself. And unit number six also opened us up to ethical project leadership. We understand that ethics is a huge part of our daily lives, and we realized that in unit number seven, where we looked on the dashboard, a lot of times the dashboard can be very misleading. And the reason why I say misleading is that there are situations that you can play around with and tell that the project is going really successful, but it's really not. It's really terrible project, and you're not being truthful on it. Okay, and a dashboard tells you the health of the company. And the reason why I call it a dashboard is that a dashboard is sort of like the dashboard on your car. Lights will pop up, warning lights. The question now is, do you want to do anything with it or not? Okay. So again, let's talk about the most basic warning like you have. You're out of gas. Okay. You have no gas. And the question of you have no gas is very disputed because technically you have about, 20 kilometers left to the tank. And not only that, I think in most cars it's about 100. Okay. But then there's a safety stock of extra gas in your tank that can lead you an extra 20 miles as well. So, in essence, you could go basically back and forth for a whole week on an empty gas from here to work and not have to deal with it. But depends on how far you go, different scenarios, picking up food, picking up your friends, and so forth. You can be out of gas earlier than you think. Okay. So a lot of times, if you do not do anything on it, it can hit you. Okay, and you have to be honest with yourself. Okay, and in a project, you also have to be honest. Nodding your head and saying, "Okay, everything is understood," is not a good way. Making sure that you're blunt and about everything shows how much of ownership you have in a project, and make sure that people know that you care about the project itself. So a lot of times when we talk about project leadership, we want to figure out what kind of ethical leadership styles you will pick up in the project. How can you create a good environment to review ethical standards with the project team, and even to talk about the different systems like a dashboard that can bring moral values, ethical values to a project manager, and also individuals that can bring to the project and navigate them so that any conflicts, any ethical problems can be dealt with all together. We also want to communicate to the project team the approach to be taken to resolve ethical dilemmas. We want to make sure that we can figure the problem out as soon as possible, but we cannot hide it. And again, I do want to remind you guys about the example I gave you, the leaning tower of San Francisco, the Millennium Tower. That tower was a colossal mistake. Okay, on so many fronts. Now the question is, could it have been avoided? Absolutely. Okay. The project probably cost $1 billion, and now it's costing $1 billion because somebody was not ethical. The question is, who's not ethical? And you can break it apart in so many different ways. Was it the architecture? Was it the project manager? Was it the outsourcing team? Was it the development team? Was it the municipality of San Francisco? Was it the government of California? There's so many players here, and at the end of the day, when you have high level, um, customers like you did in that project, it simply outweighed it. It simply outweighed the certain parts. And when you look at the dashboard, clearly you see problems. Okay. And if you ignore these problems for so long, the mentality for many human beings is like, kind of like garbage, like I see people littering sometimes, and the idea of littering is like somebody else will clean it for me, okay, or it's composable, so either way it will just evaporate, okay. And sure, yeah, you want to throw out a an apple, yeah, sure, it will just decompose in our in our ecosystem, and then we'll go back into the ground, okay. But not everything is easy like that. Okay, some things might take a little longer to decompose, and the problem is that it will show. Okay, and it will stop you. So remember, guys, if you simply do not reconcile your problems, and I was going to show the Ides of Marches, which was like March 15th, where in the Roman Empire people settled their debts and their disputes on March 15th. So people had wounds in their back all the time because that's how they settled disputes in the Roman Empire. You have to determine the appropriate way to update and communicate to project stakeholders the information that there is a problem. You have to do it ethically and respond to requests for stakeholder information and changes that might be. Okay, so it's best to be honest with people rather than to simply say, "Hey, listen." I have a problem, but I'm just going to ignore it. Okay. Having a project that costs $1 billion and then having to fix it for another billion is outrageous. Okay. And there should have been ways that we could fix it. And we're not just talking about the Millennium Tower, which was like, somewhere out there an example of a very poor leadership style. But there's also, of course, things that are, in Canada. We talked about, TTC and Bombardier. We talked about LRT and Metrolinx and all these other things. They're also a huge problem. Okay, they're also a huge issue, an issue that they know that there was a problem before. They simply ignored it, and they realized, hey, well, we should have closed real estate deals early on. We should have been more on top of our game. We weren't, and as a result, people are suffering. People are, congested. Every time I hear about having a meeting at Eglinton, I'm like, I'm shrugging my head. I'm like, well, just don't send me to Eglinton, okay? Send me anywhere else. Send me to the war zone. Just don't send me to Eglinton, please. I'm begging you. But nonetheless, I've seen it firsthand, and it's a huge problem. Okay, it's taking years to fix. And the worst part is that when you look at it, I mean, from when I was a teenager and growing up in the early '90s, I've seen how they built the Shepherd subway system. It's the same thing. Okay, so literally, the city never learned how to build things properly, and unfortunately, we're just biting ourselves over and over and over again. Okay, that's a fact. But unless being ethical is being honest, and definitely, that's where in number 8 we talked about a project manager, creating agile team environment, and being a good project manager can go a long way. So in year number 8, we talked about the different roles that a project manager can be. We mentioned that there are traditional project management styles you can bring in, and agile team environments that you can also make, where you have the the rolling wave effect, and you do a project in small amounts. So that will identify and implement different strategies that will help the project team to act in an agile environment. A lot of times we can review the approach that the project team can use for a quick delivery and obtain an early feedback to benefit the next delivery cycle. So we do things in small waves. And then, of course, we analyze the work that could be avoided in order to focus on high priority items, and to definitely identify different approaches that could be done in small amounts. So we realized that, in many projects, we can break down the work breakdown structure. We can make small work packages to make things much easier, much smaller, and then come together at the end of it all, and then put the project together and be more successful. Now, the reason why we talked about this is that when we looked at, Ajax project, could this project have been done in different scenarios? Okay. And the worst part about the Ajax project, there's no outcome here. Okay, nobody really knows what really happened to Tren after he came back from his walk. We can only imagine, and we can only give him, our own synopsis on what could have been done. Okay, but at the end of the day, the project was not successful. It wasn't what we wanted, and unfortunately, the project ended up being a failure. Okay, not a colossal failure, but there could have been scenarios where, you had, 30 team members, which again, 30 members is quite big. Okay, our, agile environment says to us have only 10 members, but you could have broken down the team into smaller amounts and created a hybrid environment between the hardware engineers, the electrical engineers, and you could have had some harmony going on. And however, there was some, setbacks there, but you could have had agile environment being done more successful. And had they done an agile environment, could have been done differently. Only the the appendice will tell us. But that agile environment opened us up into different aspects. And year number 9 focused on how to deliver an agile project, especially in team environments. And now we start to focus on, well, if you really wanted an agile environment, especially in this scenario, how do you do it? Well, outsource. Okay, and outsourcing is an important aspect. We mentioned that outsourcing is done in so many different ways in our society. We outsource mostly everything. Okay, we cannot survive without outsourcing. When you think about it, you use TTC, that's outsourcing. You use a bus, that's outsourcing. You use, a pen, I don't make pens here. That's outsourcing. I don't write the book. That's outsourcing. I don't wear my clothes. Well, I'm not naked, but of course, it's outsourced because they buy it from other companies. But everything in our world is outsourced. Okay, we buy from somewhere else. Many companies outsource almost right about everything. Okay, so the theoretical side of outsourcing is that everything could be outsourced and everything could not. Okay. And there's different sides to it. There's different companies that actually outsource the living life out of their organization. And I mentioned to you guys that there's companies like Vizio, which is like a TV monitor, TV and display monitor company that literally outsource everything that you can possibly imagine. Okay. So their company is a billion-dollar company, but they outsource from their logistics to their design. They even don't make their own TVs. They send it to like Sony, and they have Sony making their own their TVs. Okay. And the idea is that they only want a small pie, a part of the pie. Okay. So the idea here is that they want to make a small sum, and in order to make a small sum, they have to make sure they can manage everything all together. The same thing could be done in project. You can outsource some things that you may lack of, you're not good at. You can give it to another company and have the other company do it. And eventually, maybe the other company can do it a little bit better. You never know. But you can demonstrate some necessary skills and agile environment that can facilitate team membership, and they can coordinate well around the project. You can also identify common agile practices in team environments and evaluate different varieties of tools and techniques to deal with the issues that present the biggest issues and problems, and make sure that you can outsource it to another company and try to use agile approach in a team environment and make sure that the agile approach can work with you all together. And with all good things, we mentioned the must come to an end, especially in this class. We ended last week in year number 10 on project closure, and that's where you start to manage and engage project stakeholders and talk to them about the end of it all, which is the final assessment of the project, landing the project safely and soundly without any problems, being the pilot of your own success. So that's where we identified the people, the groups, the organizations that could be impacted the most with a project. We realized that if you forget a stakeholder, it's not the end of the world, but it could harm your end result. And it gave you a situation, a real life situation, that a tower in Toronto had to be sent down a little bit, changed, modified from like 60 floors down to like 45 floors because they forgot environmentalists. Okay. And environmentalists are mad about everything. Okay. They're angry little individuals, and they were actually angry about the weirdest thing ever. They were angry actually about the birds. Okay. The birds that hit the towers, they wanted to protect them, and they got the city of Toronto to get them lobbied, and they ended up changing the project. Okay, it cost the company a lot of money. People who wanted, the 60th floor ended up being on the 45th floor. It's like, I don't want to be on the 45th floor. I pay for the 60th floor. Give me a discount. Give me returns and refunds. Okay, and it happens. Okay, so we have to analyze stakeholders' expectation, especially at the beginning, but realize that if we forget about them at the end, it could be very, very deadly or very, very traumatic for our project. And we have to definitely apply different techniques in looking at analyzing the stakeholders. You want to look at the quantitative side, how important they are to the project, qualitative side, what do they have to say to me to determine how much of an interest an account do they have with the project managers, and also develop the appropriate measurements and strategies to effectively engage the stakeholders properly and make sure that the stakeholders are being entertained. So that leads us back to other different units that we talked about in managing the project decision, the execution stage, and making sure that everybody knows their process, knows their roles, and can handle the project well all together. And with that being said, that was unit number 10. We talked about project closure. And now, of course, today we're in unit number 11. And of course, unit number 11 is RRCC, review, reflect, closure in your career. So we got one thing off. We did review and reflection, or two things off. And before we did a reflection, just one thing in mind. I do want you guys to be reminded that there's two things left in our class. The final analysis paper is due unit 11, as you guys know. It's the individual analysis paper. It's worth about 25% of your mark. Please finish it by the end of this unit, okay? Meaning that Sunday, because if you forget about it, unfortunately, it's one of these scenarios where students rumored to say that we have Unit 12. There's no such thing as Unit 12. Unit 12 is the unit that I'm going to be in Barbados, which is a project. Okay, I'll be in a sunny Barbados lounge, and then I get a email from a student who is confused about when to finish a semester. Unit 11 is Unit 11, so it finishes. And unlike other units where we can work on something, this one we can't. Okay. So by, next week, this time, Monday, I'll probably do an overnight or late night, probably until 6 in the morning this time next week. And I have to submit all the reports, all the final outcomes, the analysis of our class, and then I will upload your marks onto WISIS. And then when it's in WISIS, you cannot really change it. Okay, so please finish everything this week. Get your final analysis paper. Get everything in order. And hopefully have yourself a fantastic end of the semester. But beyond that, guys, don't also forget that in unit number 11, there's like 1/3 of your marks on the table. So 25% a quarter is on the final analysis paper, and then 5% is on the presentation. Part number 3 is the group work, and that's the presentation. Please, please, with a cherry on top, please also don't forget that 5% of your mark is also being down in line with the group presentation. The group presentation, all I need right now from you guys is a outcome of what you've done as the report in unit number 10. So get 10, 15 slides together. If you want to go above and beyond, as I mentioned to you in the last few weeks, you can also make a video for me. Okay, make a video, present it, and you can get pro bono marks. Okay, so if you're in the field of I'm stretching a 75% in this class. I want to push it up to an A minus. This is a good scenario for you. Okay. However, I'm not forcing anyone to make a video. It's a option. And again, even I you guys are not the only class I teach. This is the only global class I have, but I also teach other classes. And I told students since week 7, don't bother me if there's no video. All right, and a video, again. If there's a problem in a group, like a student is not participating, I will handle it. But when it comes down to the video, I follow the charter. If a student does not want to make a video, for whatever reason, they're busy, they're introverts, they're just they don't like to wear makeup in the video. I cannot stop it. Okay, I cannot tell the team, hey team, according to the census, you have to make a video. Okay, I cannot do that. I cannot go in and let them make a video. So fortunately, if there's no video, that's okay. I'll still give you marks. 5% worth marks of the final presentation, as long as you give me a PowerPoint PPT document. I'll mark it and give you it as need be. But if you want to go above and beyond, that's your call. Okay. So two things are down in the line here. And other than that, what we are going to cover right now is we covered review, reflect, closure a little bit, and let's talk about your careers. Careers, okay? So as I mentioned, I'm the only kind of teacher that talks about your careers in that sense. In careers, of course, we're going to talk about career paths in project management. What does it mean to make temporary assignments? Pursuing your career in project management, gaining some certification and designation, mentorship, gaining visibility, and the key to a successful project role in a company altogether. So these are some of the scenarios that we're going to talk about. And let's talk about career paths. The first one, um, in honesty, when it comes down to project management and careers, there's no set agenda here. There's no set career paths on becoming a project manager per se. Advancements in a company for project management occurs incrementally. So a lot of times you may be starting as a junior position and then working your way up. And then when you become a manager, it'd be like, okay, what kind of traits do you have? You have operational traits, you have technical traits. And by the way, don't forget that this wonderful individual went to a prestige school called Yorkville and they have a designation in project management. Why don't we use them? So a lot of times project manager responsibility will extend as you move upwards because they know that you can manage a team, you can manage a department, and you can also manage a project. Okay, so it does move differently. There are companies out there that have a department for project managers or a individual for project management. It all varies. It depends on your industry, depends on your career paths, your goals, and beyond. So there's no set agenda here. It's not like being a doctor. You become a doctor and there's the path on how to become a doctor. So the goal, if you ever want to become a doctor or you have a son or daughter who wants to become a doctor, uh, it's you have to start 4 years in some science undergrad, and then after science undergrad you go into maybe masters, and then from masters you then get into a doctorate program for 4 years. So that's like 9 years of school, and then afterwards, after 9 years of school, you do residency, which is like 2 years. So that's like 10, 12 years, 11 years altogether. Then you have a specialty. Then you go into the field. So if you really, 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 really want to be a doctor, by the time that you're like 30, 32, you become a doctor. Okay, if you start at 18. But nonetheless, of course, it all changes, depends on what you want to do. But again, you may be a project manager in the first year of your career. You may be a project manager 10 years down the line. Okay. Nothing is set in stone in the real world. However, guys, please remember that project management is usually a field that tends to be temporary, and that's where I told you about outsourcing. There are students I still keep in touch with from my previous semesters that actually do project management as a temporary position, meaning that they're temps. Okay. And sometimes, is it the worst thing? Is it the best thing? We don't really know. But some people prefer to have a full job, full-time job, because full-time jobs come with full-time benefits. Okay, and it's secured. Okay, where in project management, nothing is set in stone. So many companies, what they'll do is, if you go on Indeed, sometimes they will offer you a contract, and the contract might be for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, or so forth. And sometimes students, what they do, they pick that up, and some students of mine, they can handle like five, six, seven different projects all in the same year. And assuming, let's put a number here, if every project paid like $30,000, and you handle five different projects, and you can handle five projects at the same time, and you prove yourself out there, um, that's a good amount of projects. You can easily make $150,000 as a self-employed project manager. Okay. So again, permanent job tenders are rarely seen sometimes in project management. If you work for like the government, like the city of Toronto, or an engineering company, maybe. Okay. But a lot of times, many projects tend to be temporary. So it starts, finishes, and then everybody disappears. But in many cases, some people use it for their advantages and end up being their own boss at the end of the day. Okay. But please remember that a promising career can easily be derailed if you have one unsuccessful project. If you have a project that really could have been done really well, but did not. It could have been a huge issue and a huge scenario altogether. So again, if you are pursuing a career, guys, what I do recommend is to find out what specific project opportunities exist in your careers. So again, you'll probably land a job, and when you find a company, a lot of times you want to look at what the company does and what the company is looking for. So again, talk to people in project management positions, get some mentorship, and find out how they got to where they got. Sit down with them and have a coffee break, coffee date with them on where they are and what advice they can give you so that if you want to pursue a position like theirs, you know exactly how to get to that role. Okay. Definitely when you start in a company, a lot of times the first few weeks, the first few days, is you're going to sit down with your boss, and with your boss you're going to tell him what your aspiration, where you want to be in the next few months, the next the next 12 months, 36 months, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and so forth. So you definitely have to tell them exactly that you are interested in project management. You want to share your aspirations with your immediate supervisors or managers, or someone who can, push you to the limit, champion you on your ambitions, and make sure that if you are interested in it, make sure that training is available, and hopefully assign you to project management work. Nonetheless, of course, when you are in that process, there is the scenario of being trained on project management. So there are training that's available. Okay. So don't be like, oh man, I'm in school and I have to still go back to school. Please remember that training and certification is available. And I do recommend that training should be done. But there is different ways that you can be trained. First and foremost, there's on-job training. So when you start with a company, you start to understand their products, their procedures, their protocols. You have to be trained. Usually, somebody sits down with you and they train you on the system. They train you on how to use it, how to apply it. If you work in a company that pushes you in the deep end and says, here, go on this training manual, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, not the best company to kind of work for. If you sit down with somebody and they can sit down with you and you can understand what this program will do and how the procedures can be done, it's usually a company that invests in you. So there will be on-job training. Sometimes, every so often you get trained on something. So definitely there will be training resources that will be available. There's also in-house training programs that are available. So there may be some certificates that are done in-house that you can use. So again, for example, like I'm in a college, and even at my college, okay, as a teacher, I always get trained. I get trained for, working with students who you know, are looking for advancement. Students who are, you know, maybe stressed and are looking for support. Students with learning difficulties. Students that are needing, even more mentorship. We deal with, occupational health and safety, and what happens if there's a emergency situation. Okay, I'm trained on it. Okay, and I get certificates on it. Okay, so even before, I even have certificates for workshops that Yorkville gives us. So there's in-house training that's always done, and a lot of times it's, again, in-house training is almost like a currency. And we talked about currencies in work. I can take that currency, go to another position, and trade it off. So when they ask me, did you teach anybody? I go, yeah, I taught people, I taught students. And it's like, okay, well, you can teach people. If I give you a new module, you can teach them on this program. Do you know project management? Absolutely. Good. It's a work process. Okay. So you have on-job training, in company job training programs that are available. You also have professional workshops, so they may send you a couple of days here and there to be trained as well. Okay, to get a designation of some sort, so from a outsource company. Other times, there are companies out there that will give you university degree programs. So they may ask you, well, you know what? Go back to school again, and maybe do night classes. All right, so you may invest in night school. Okay, maybe you know they'll give you a chance to do the certificate in, say, Ryerson or York or U of T. Um, there's only like six classes you need to take, but they'll tell you you can take one class per semester, do it in 2 years, and then in like 24 months, you have this certificate that our company really needs. So that can be done. And again, it's kind of a bummer. It's like, what? You tell me going back to school? I just graduated from school. How is that possible? And unfortunately, when you're young and fresh and ready to hit the market, they always pick on you guys. They always pick on the early ones, because then people who are in mid-level, top-level manager are like, I would go back to school, but I have so much on my plate. Just give it to somebody else. And usually, if they give it to you, it's a good chance to say to yourself, you know what? I can handle this. Okay, I can take this to the next stage. But nonetheless, of course, there is also training programs available, professional organization designation membership we have, including project management. Okay, so we have the Project Management Institute and other roles that you can pick up on. And usually, what you can do is you can do the Project Management Institute, certification, which is a PMP, Project Management Professional, or you have another option, which is CAPM, which is Certified Associate in Project Management. So to break it apart, especially on professional designation, directed project management, there are two. So you have, of course, PMP, which is Project Manager Professional. The idea of PMP comes in line with PM Book and also comes in line with our class. Why is that? Because the role of PMP is to become a leader and direct a project team, okay? To be the project manager. So in order to be a PMP, the eligibility is at least you have a high school diploma or something very similar, 5 years of project management experience, and we'll talk about that. 35 years of project management education, meaning that you're in class. So, 3 hours of my class, times it by 11 weeks. That's about 33 hours. So, just my class alone, on top of the art class you take, you have more than enough experience out there. Or at least you have a bachelor education, 3 years of project management, and 35 hours of education. So again, a lot of people always tell me, well, I don't have 5 years of project management. That's okay. Please remember, you do case studies, you do other things. That will be the equivalence, okay? But this is the eligibility. And definitely when you go into the exam, it's about 4 hours of the exam. So it's 4 hours of your precious, precious life on a Saturday too. Saturday, out of every single day, they pick Saturday. Those bastards there. But 4 hours and about 200 questions that are needed in order for you to pass the PMP. However, there is another option, which is CAPM. CAPM is Certified Associate in Project Management. And the idea of CAPM is that it's a little bit different from PMP, where you contribute to a project team, meaning that you're an associate of the project. Okay. You're not the leader. So you're part of the team. Okay. You're not Tran, but you're basically somebody who's second to Tran. Okay. On helping, making sure that the administration of the project can be done. CAPM requires a little bit less here. CAPM says that you only need a high school diploma, 1,500 hours of experience, and about 23 hours of project management education. So that can be done as well. And the idea here is that with CAPM, it's a little bit easier. Exam, I heard, is easier. Now it's 3 hours and 150 questions, but the questions are very rudimentary. But what is the difference between CAPM and PMP? Well, PMP, of course, is the head honcho. PMP is well known. CAPM, not so much so. But one thing that I've always seen, and this is a reality, is that especially when you graduate and you start applying to companies, many companies ask you, are you PMP designated? And you say, no, but I'm going towards that scenario. But they like you so much that they'll give you an offer, and the offer states that in 6 months, you have to have a PMP. Okay. And let's say you graduate in August. Okay, you graduate in August, you start with them in September, and here's the biggest problem. Okay, that leaves you with like 1 or 2 months to study the PMP. Okay, because PMP is not done every month. Okay, now how is it done now? It's pretty disputed because there was the lockdown, we had COVID, and it was done online at one time, then it was done somewhere else. But in this scenario with the PMP, it's only done in October and May. Yeah, Janara, you had a question?
I have an exam coming up for the Comp M.
Oh yeah, you do? Okay. Is it
Yeah.
done this month or when's it done?
I'm gonna take the exam May 1st.
May 1st. Okay. And if you, I wish you all the best. If you have another option, can you take it in June, July? If need be?
I can change it. Yeah.
Okay, good, good. So I'll give you the scenario, Gennaro. So Gennaro is going for CAPM. Awesome. CAPM, of course, is to be an associate in project management.
Mm.
However, if she decides to be a PMP, one of the biggest problems with PMP is that it's only done either in October or May. Okay.
Okay.
And after PMP, if for example, in a scenario PMP, if you do not succeed in PMP in October, okay, you end up having to do it in May, and that puts a lot of pressure on many designators, many individuals, because then you realize, well, I cannot. I was given 6 months to do it, so let's do the math on 6 months in August. That means, of course, it's August, September, October, November, December, and let's say January and maybe February. Basically, by February 1st, they're gonna come back and say, okay, we're just doing a review on you in our work. Do you have your PMP yet? Which you're supposed to do in October. No, I didn't do it, or I failed it, and of course, it puts a lot of strain on it. So what many people do is that if you don't do well in your PMP, you start to jump to CAPM. And the reason why people like CAPM is that unlike PMP, and we're talking pre-COVID, CAPM can be done every month. Okay, where PMP is only done twice a year, fall and spring. So that
So
yeah.
wait, sir. I have another question. So how does it help me to come the Comp M exam? And do I still need to have, like, if I will pursue my PMP designation, do I still to have wait for 5 years if I pass the Comp M or?
No, it does help you as well. I mean, with the 5 years equivalence or 3 years equivalence, they
uh,
ask you for case studies and scenarios. So a
uh,
lot of times when you look at what we do in Yorkville, especially
mhm,
with all the application we do, and not just my
mhm,
class, but the other classes you do, you
mhm,
also are ready for PMP. So a lot of my students, what they have done, there's scenarios out there where
mhm,
students decide, well, should I wait to do the PMP now when I have time, or should I do it later on? So many people decide to do it later on because many companies will pay for you to do it.
mhm,
Some companies do not pay for you. Okay, so
mhm.
it's kind of a game of like, what do you want to come? What does come? What would come first, the chicken or the egg? And if you want the chicken, then definitely you do it and you pay for the chicken. But if you want to get the egg and the golden egg, then you wait later on, and hopefully a company will sponsor you. Okay.
So my in my situation, it's very complicated because my background of work is different from the business side because I'm in the healthcare, and then I totally flipped my career into the business side as a PSW. Then I study back as a this project management. So now, look, finding a job for me, it's really difficult because I don't have experience, and I thought taking a Comp M will help me land some coordinator careers if I pass that one and start my journey in the PMP.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, with Capum, definitely, you can start as a junior. Okay. And with Capum, it doesn't make you become a project manager per se, but you can start building your skills. And when we talked about, for example, getting the designation, getting the right skills, you can do maybe an associate in project management with some companies, and then build your skill as you go forward, and then decide based on it, do you want to still be a team player or do you want to be a team leader? And if you decide to cross over as a team leader later on, you can definitely be able to do your PMP as well.
Yeah, that is my plan of my career, like
Okay.
building it up in the bottom first, because I don't have experience and my experience is away from this kind of work, so that's
Sure.
why starting from the bottom, and then probably if time permits, then I'll pursue my PMP.
Okay. Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah.
But definitely with some students, and I've seen it before, some students rush to get the PMP. It all depends on where you stand, okay? Everybody's different. Everybody has their own, vices in life. But I've seen students who, before they graduated, and some students are graduating, let's say in October, in the convocation, they already have their PMP. Okay. They spent, most of the semester studying for a PMP. They got the PM book, they got everything ready, and they're ready to take on the market. Other students are kind of waiting it out, saying, well, what value does my BBA have, and maybe getting into an industry because, for example, Genera is a good example. Genera is going from personal support worker, healthcare, okay, to the management side business. So there are going to be ways that you can convert some of the areas that she worked on to project management, but she's going to start at a specific level in a company and then work her way up. Okay. So there are scenarios where, Kappa might work for her better than PMP, but it all varies. Okay. Some people would want to say, you know what, I want to give PMP a shot, let it be done. Okay. And some people say, well, CAPM is a good way. The only thing different with CAPM versus PMP is that some industries are well known with PMP. Okay. They prefer PMP. PMP is more international, where CAPM is very specific to some industries. Okay. Some industries, they're only aligned with CAPM, some are aligned with PMP. It all depends. Okay. So you have to definitely, what I do recommend for Gennaro is to find your industry, find your niche, decide where you want to pursue your goals. Okay. Whether it's going to be in construction, engineers, technology, government, whatever you want to pursue, your choice is yours. But definitely decide if you wanted to do CAPM first, and then later on, maybe in 2, 3 years after you get in there, you get testimonials, you get reviews, and everything is good. Get your PMP, and not only that, get the company to pay for you, to sponsor you on it. Okay, so there are two choices. Again, I cannot always give you the best scenario because again, it's you as a student, you passing the exam, you being able to understand where you are, you also understand the company you're in, and then deciding, well, should I do a PMP first? Should I cap them first? Should I get the company to sponsor it? Do the company sponsors it? There's all these variables, and definitely, I can only give you the two options.
Do you have
Mari, you
both?
had a question?
I was going to ask if you had both.
Some people have both. Some people do have both, and with Janara, she could be able to get CAPM first, and then later on, 2, 3 years, she's also a PMP designator as well. But kind of it's like CAPM, kind of like you get CAPM, and then well, it's sort of like you have your undergrad, sure, BCom, but then you got your masters, and it's like the same thing, but only better. Okay, but PMPs is looked on a little bit more. Aggressively, I would say, especially internationally, PMP is well known. Take into consideration that PMP is kind of new in a way. It's been around for about 30 years. The PMI Institute has been around for about 30 years. And they did a lot of investments in making sure people know about their organization a little bit better. So definitely PMP, when you look internationally, goes further, but in some cases, some industries, CAPM is the currency. Okay. Any further questions about designation and requirements and so forth? So I just broke it down into sections. And again, like I mentioned, some people prefer to do Kaplan first, just so that they have some weight on their shoulders. And some people are overwhelmed by PMP, so they ended up doing Kaplan. But again, it's all your call. Okay, I've seen students wait, until
But
they're graduated.
sir, the requirements for the PM the PMP, it's do you, what is the requirements to take that?
Down below, you see the eligibility requirements. As I
Uh-huh.
mentioned to you, you have 5 hours of education, and I mentioned to you that even in our class, like this
Mm.
class, if you get credit in this class, you get free hours. Okay, so just my class gives you free hours of requirement, plus the other classes you take with Violet and so forth, that will add on. And on top of that, with your experience, you have experience from your case studies, from your work you've done, and you can put that all together. So it's about being more creative on how you attack PMP on it. But there are students who do PMP in the beginning. There are students who get the PMP designation early on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it, it
Okay.
all it all varies, but they don't if you're missing out on something, they don't let you say, oh, just wait a couple of years. They definitely want you guys to get your certificate as soon as possible. Okay. Any further questions about this? Everybody's clear here? Okay. All right. Nonetheless, guys, when we talk about the PMP and so forth, you get your PMP, you get your CAPM, awesome. Next up is becoming more visible in your industry. So again, you ask yourself how to develop your persona, your industry, and definitely get involved in community opportunities to manage projects. There is a lot of volunteer work that you can definitely be able to do. For example, like for one of the things that comes to mind, it the Right for Heart, Bessel Right for Heart, which is a yearly event, and a lot of times they're looking for volunteers. And definitely, if you're a project manager and a soon-to-be project manager graduate, then they can definitely use your support. Does it pay? Not really, but it does give you some testimonials. Okay, a lot of times when you put that into your resume, people see that you're not just a name, you're not just a graduate, and here is my experience that might be relevant, might not be relevant, but they can also say that you volunteer, and definitely volunteer goes a long way. Yes, some places doesn't pay, but it does give you testimonials. And the reason why I use Right for Heart is that the organization does a lot to help their volunteers. So they have events for you. They have even an individual that will write up a reference letter for you. Okay, so they do all these things, and definitely with some volunteer work, please remember that even CEOs and so forth, high level managers are doing volunteer work on their side. So this is a good opportunity to network with them. Okay. So not just, of course, Right for Heart, the Scotiabank Marathon that we have every fall, New at Blanche, all these things. They need a project manager. They need somebody for support. And definitely, if you want to do that, you can definitely be visible, gain some network out there, and hopefully get the foot in the door. Other situations is that there are mentorship programs that are available in companies. Some big companies do have mentorship programs, and again, depends on the industry you want to go in. They do offer that altogether. What are mentors? Basically, mentors are basically managers or superiors who see that you are a good candidate and have special interest in you and take a special stake into your career and your endeavors. So a lot of times mentors are an important part of making sure that, if you are trekking out there, you're doing a really good performance, then of course they want to work with you. Yes, Janara. Hello.
I just wanna let my classmate knows, professor, that they can take advantage of membering into the PMI organization, as Yorkville
UPenn.
University is a member of the PMI.
Yes.
So they if they are not using Yorkville, they will pay much money. But if they are, they just pay $25 membership fee,
Yeah.
and they can take advantage of the membership. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, General. Yes, Yorkville is part of the PMI, and Yorkville has its own group program called UPIM, Yorkville University Project Managers Guild, I believe. And a lot of times I have previous students of mine who actually joined us for our class, and they actually encourage you guys to join the group. Okay, so again, it's networking is volunteer, but it will build you up to that course in that field. And they do definitely help you, especially if you are interested to become a project management student and help you out with project management as a whole. But nonetheless, of course, when you do go out there in the real world, mentorship is very important. And definitely, I mentioned that mentorship is that you have a superior who says that you have some special skills and we want to work with you on your career. So the only thing that they require you guys to do is to show loyalty and work your way up, superior performance. And definitely, when there are mentorship programs, they can help you. The only thing that comes to mind at this hour at 7:30 in the morning is that there are mentorship programs um, for banks. Okay, I'm going to use banks because they have what we call management trainee programs. So what they do is that if you get into the management trainee program, which is a mentorship program, what they do is that for 2 years, they allow you to be assigned to different departments and different projects, and they will build your career as you go forward. Okay, so assume that you get into a manager trainee program at the bank. What they'll do is that you start with the bank, you go for 2 months. Okay, they give you a formal education about what their company does, and then after 2 months, you're completely on your own. Okay, you have to contact the directors and VPs of departments and tell them, listen, I'm a management trainee. I want to sit down with you, have a coffee break or date with you, and tell you about why I want to join your department. Okay, so if they like you, if they see an interest in you, and they have an assignment or a project for you, they will have you there for like 2 3 months, and then after it's done, you go to another department. So basically, we're looking at and let's assume that's like 6 months, not 3 months. So in like you know 12 sorry, in 24 months, you're probably going to be swept around maybe like 4 to 8 times in different departments. And then after you're done, let's say you start with the company in like late 2023, in late 2025, okay, you're going to come back to the companies, and what you're going to do is your goal is that you definitely want to sit down and then decide, well, the project manager that I worked with in the beginning, I really want to work with them in the future, and maybe they're in anti-money laundering, AML, or capital markets or something different, but I want to work with them. And definitely, what happens that at that point is that instead of starting from scratch, you go into a management level, and they will get you going into a management position. And using your project management expertise, it can go a long way. So again, other mentorship programs is that you can also be able to attend things like trade shows, conferences, workshops, and definitely network and develop social connections that hopefully will precipitate in project assignments and project work within your organization. Okay, so they can help you all along the way. And what also occurs is that when you look at different success measures within project management, there is going to be a successful key projects that you may be able to work on. So please remember, guys, that there will be options that you can pick what kind of projects you're going to do. But please, guys, for the love of me, please pick projects that have more of the quality side of what you're willing to do in the future than the scope of the projects. Meaning that don't jump into the millennial project as your first project. You'll get eaten alive. Trust me, I will be scared off my legs just to even talk about Millennium Project. So, for example, if you're working in the construction industry, maybe do a house project, a small house project with templates to kind of get your wings together. Okay, don't jump on say Aura projects. Okay, especially in construction in Ontario, on Toronto, especially. There's all these mega projects going on where I'm just looking at the approved projects. There's a near Gerard and Yonge Street. There's a building which is multi-use called the Aura Building. That building is so complicated. Even myself, I would just freak out just doing it. Okay, I would really freak out. It's multi-use, mixed use, hotel, residential. There's shopping centers. It's connected to the underground, the pathway. It's very, very complex. Okay, and it requires a lot more skill. If I was, first, second year of project management working in construction companies, I'd rather work in a company that allows me to do maybe construction that has a template, like maybe a house or a subunits of some sort. It's very easy. Okay, so definitely pick a project. And again, I'm not trying to tell you do not pick the project that you love. Pick a project that you're working with high quality people, and the scope of the project is something that you can relate to later on. I do recommend, and I do have that. Oh, where's my diary? Keep a diary like I do. Oh God, a diary. Keep a diary like I have of what you have done. Write it in, okay? Have an observation. At the end of the day, as you finish your days, write down what you have done and then review and reflect them and any lessons being learned so that definitely you can look back on it and say to yourself, okay, this is what I did, 12 months ago, and this is what I can do in the future. Try to avoid what we call the run of the mill projects, where you start a project, you go into it, and then you realize after like 12 months or so that there's no changes. We have not done anything. Okay. And definitely you're stuck in the first gear. You want to make sure that your projects are they mean something to you, and of course that you want to learn from the projects as well. Definitely find some projects that have high profile projects. I would recommend that you seek a high profile project that will have some tangible risks, but also payoffs. Meaning again that you build your skill, and then they will see you at the company as a specialist in the position rather than somebody who just jumps from position to position and doesn't have a real goal altogether. And I do want to also consider moving if you do not like, working in that position or you do not see any benefits of it. Definitely think about moving to a different organization or even a different industry that might provide more opportunities for projects if you like. Because again, if you start with, for example, um, banks. Okay, banks do have projects, but maybe they do not have projects that you like. Um, Again, I've seen it before where students jump into banks. They say banks are secure, they're wonderful, but then the only projects they do are projects in technology. So they do change into technology, and some people see it as a run-of-the-mill projects where they don't get the right return on it. Okay, versus working in say a company that does say I don't know fashion or a company that imports items. Maybe they see more projects out there. Okay, and myself, my experience a lot of times has been around importation, and distribution, and supply chain. So my projects usually, in a year, for example, I did only 6 projects. So if I wanted to do more projects, maybe I should go into consulting, maybe I should go into say construction or so forth. Maybe it will give me a better tangible payoff. But now, guys, do value the designation, guys, of PMI. PMI goes a long way, and if you do CAPM, PMI, PMP, your call. But you guys, from what I I stand here. You have a BBA, which is a Bachelor of Business Administration, which is an asset. You definitely set yourself aside from the rest of the pack, but you definitely want to focus on a specialty. Okay, so focus on getting your designation. Focus on finding an industry. Focus on a company. Okay. So I do recommend, again, it's a game of chicken versus egg. Commit some time right now before graduation to achieve certification and your designation. Yorkville trains you on it. The reason why you're doing your minor in project management is to prepare you for a PMI certificate. You would definitely stand out, okay, for a PMI, not just for project, but also related careers. Okay, you never know how it will affect a organization when you have a PMP designation. It not only solves, of course, company situations, but also day-to-day real life situations. Okay. Situations where you can apply what we learned about from leadership and project management in your reality and in a daily life. Okay. However, guys, I'm not pushing you to one direction. If PMI is not in your cards, that's cool. Okay, not a problem. If you don't like CAPM, PMP, and afterwards, after you took my class, you really do not like me or my class, that's cool. That's cool. There are other designations that are available. Okay, some of the other designations you can definitely be able to go after. For example, if you like supply chain, you like manufacturing, you like distribution, warehouse, you can go for a supply chain management association. Purchasing, I picked out there. I was at one time in my career, I was part of the Retail Council of Canada, and they do have different certifications, operation management, Apex, which is purchasing, PMAC, which is also purchasing. There's a lot of options out there, and all these organizations, they do have membership and designation on it, and they do have a lot of events. Okay. So some of the things they do have, for example, are, I hope nobody's laughed at the certificate. Nobody has ever laughed at the certificate unless I pointed it out. You get a clown college certificate. Get it? Clown college? No, never mind. It's too early in the morning. But a lot of times when you are part of an organization, they do have trade shows they invite you to. You do get designation, hope not a clown college designation, but something very similar. You do get up there in the scale. Okay, so if you want to achieve greatness, if you want to be recognized, you do get to go up there in the workplace. You do get networked. Okay, you are allowed to go into events, shake hands, meet some people, and also do workshops. Okay, and I'll tell you my story. Okay, when I was, I wouldn't call myself a junior at that time, maybe mid-level junior, depends on how you see it. I was starting my career. Okay, and I was working in a company out in Mississauga, Ontario, and I had a problem, lateness. Okay, I was late for so much of my early mornings, and the reason is, uh, I can make excuses like a student, but I'm not. But in reality, what happened was I had to be there by 9 a.m. and for whatever reason, if I left if I left my house, and I lived at the other side of the city. If I left my house at like 7:15, 7:10, I'd be at work by like 8:10. Okay. And then I'll be waiting out there in the parking lot saying, like, what am I gonna do? The doors are closed. Let's go to Timmy's and get some Timbits and coffee and caffeine and all that good stuff. And then if I left at like 7:30, I get to work like at 9:20, 9:10. Okay. I was always late. Why was I late? There's a lot of situations. I'm guessing all the bad drivers. They just, they come on the road at 7:30. You're like, what am I going to do today? Oh, I know what I'm going to do. Let's get into a car accident and delay everybody in the collector lane. So I'm not sure what happened, but I was always late, and it frustrated my manager. My manager wanted to mentor me, and he always thought I was late. So I'm not sure if it was a punishment or not, but as a way to encourage me to come early, he made me join an organization, and the organization had literally weekly or biweekly meetings. Okay, about nonsense in the morning. Okay, so you go up there and then you would sit there for a breakfast meeting, which is not bad. You have coffee, you have, continental breakfast. But he made me sit in these conferences, and these conferences were nonsense. They were talking about, financial terms. They were talking about banking. They brought an RBC guy there. It was boring. Not only was it so boring, okay, the person sitting next to me at that time, at one time, also found it boring. So he sat there, and then he turned over to me and said, "Hey, listen, this is boring. Say, what about the sports game last night? Did you see it?" And said, "Yeah, I saw it. Yeah." And then we started a conversation. We networked. Okay, and then later on, what he did was he actually sent me an email on LinkedIn saying, "Listen, our company is growing. We're hiring. Do you want a position?" So not only did I get a new position that paid more in a bigger company, okay, with a bigger role, bigger task, I also figure out that I don't have to report at 9 in the morning to my boss. Okay, I can come in whenever I want, but normally I have to come in 9 in the morning. So if I come in 9:20, nobody's going to kill me. Okay, but clearly I went up the chain just by being there. Okay, by networking with people and being able to get into a new market. Okay. So there is a lot of benefits to being part of an organization. Again, when you have a BBA like you guys are doing, it's amazing. It's hard work, and I've seen it all together, but it's only one part of your career. You need to find a specialty and an industry to go into. Okay. And I think Janara mentioned it very well. Janara is coming from health services, health science, into a new industry. So now the question for Janari is which industry do you want to get into? And maybe you want to get into, for example, working at University Health Network and still being part of, health science, but in the sense of purchasing. And maybe, for example, Genera might say, you know what, Capum is good for me, but on top of Capum, I want to get Apex, which allows me to become a purchasing manager or work in supply chain. Or maybe I like fashion. I want to work in retail or operation manager. Whatever you want to go into, guys, it's all yours. But there's a lot of benefits here. And the benefits that I want to tell you guys, and I think one of the benefits was hinted to by Genera as well, was that number one, as students, you get deep, 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 deep discounts. How deep are the discounts? Well, let me explain to you. I was part of Supply Chain Management Association, and to get in as a member by yourself is like $700 per year. Okay. Then I called them up and said, listen, I became a instructor. I work in a school. Give me a better deal. And they gave me one for about $300. I was like, man, that was like, half off. Okay. How did that work? That's amazing. And then I called them up again and said, listen, do you have any deeper discounts? And he go, yes. Are you a student? And I said, no, I'm a teacher. Okay. Well, if you were a student, you would get now the price of being a member at like something like under $100. And the $100 doesn't mean that you get like, a fraction of membership. You get full membership. Okay. As a student, the only thing I needed was a student ID and a student card and a student email. That's it. And you get access to everything. The same way I get access as I'm a teacher, as I am a professional. So you get deep discounts as a student. And the problem is, guys, that many students do not take advantage of it. Many students just sit idle the whole semester, the whole year, and they don't think about the future. Okay. And there's so many organizations out there that they're hungry for students. They're hungry for them to join their organization because if you become a member for like $70 a year or whatever the amount is, you get access to networking. Okay. And again, Genera, how much does it cost to become part of, University of Yorkville Project Management Institute?
$25.
25 bucks. What are you going to do with 25 bucks? That's an amazing deal. The deal is century, guys. And that deal is century will allow you to be access to networking. Okay. Will give you access to take credit certificates out there. I'm just using PMP, sorry, PMI, but again, Supply Chain Management Association has this exact same thing. They have certificates, networking events. They have career opportunities, guys, careers. Again, I cannot stress it ever more so. When you look at careers, guys, with careers, um, and I'll give you a situation out there. When I hired and I used Indeed in the middle of a very hot market where I would say it's the employer's market, not the employee's market. Um, I put in this is what happened. Okay. So I was sitting the whole afternoon in the board office with the other managers, and we started to formulate a new position in our company. So we give the title, we told what we're looking for, what we need, we put it all together. We edit the draft on it, and then I took the draft after like 4 o'clock. I submitted it to Indeed.ca, and then we posted it on Indeed, the job. Okay. I left my office at 5 o'clock, and then I came back at like 9 in the morning, and I was astounded that my mailbox had, okay, 900, sorry, not 900, I won't say, like something like 300 candidates apply in just a span of like, what it was it, like 8 hours, 10 hours or so, okay, from 5 o'clock at night in the evening until 9 in the morning, okay. That's insane. Okay. Sorry, that's like more like 12 hours. 12, 13, 14, yeah, 15 hours or so. Okay. So in that span, so many people applied. Okay. So many people apply for the position that what we had to do, and that's what Indeed does, they funnel it. Okay. Funneling looks like this, guys, where you have a funnel. Okay. And what happens here is that in the funnel, we have to say who lives in Canada, it gets cut. Who lives, say, in the GTA, it gets cut. Who has a degree, they get cut, and then it gets cut even more to the point that I have like maybe 15 candidates. I started at 300. It cut down to 15 candidates, and then I looked at these 15 resumes on that day, and then I probably call about 5 people. Okay, and then only about maybe 3 or 4 of them with a fifth one on, let's say, if one person does not show up, will end up being called to our office for a position. Okay, that's a lot of people. But if you work in these if you work with these organizations, a lot of the time, guys, they have their own career sites, and you have to get access. You have to have a password and username to get it. Okay. So when you look at the funnel becomes smaller. Okay. So in some cases, they put in advertising out there on, say, Supply Chain Managers Association, and only about 10 people apply because they don't have a huge pool here. Okay. So it finds specific specialists. And when you tell them, listen, I'm part of this organization, and I looked at the career site, it puts you up a little bit higher. Okay. And it directs you. They have specific names they put on. It's much, much easier to find a job if you are a candidate or if you are a member in these organizations. Okay. So career opportunities might be easier. Certificates will be easier to get. Even sometimes as students, you might even get a discount on your certificates. There is events and trade shows. You do have updates and support that they have, and most importantly, it is a great association to be a part of. You're very proud to be part of it. So definitely, guys, I've seen a lot of students come and go. Many students do not take advantage of these organizations, and unfortunately, they miss out. Okay, many companies, many students are sitting idle and are thinking, well, there is a position for me, I'll get snatched. It happens, sure, but not very frequently. And definitely, if you pick an industry, a designation, certificate, a organization, it can help you a little bit more. Yeah, Mary. Hello, Mary?
Yeah, how often do you participate within the organization? So I joined PMI last year, like in September of last year,
Yeah,
but I haven't gone to any of like the networking events because I'm studying and all this stuff. So
sure.
it's really hard. But like, how often would one need to participate in order to actually take full advantage of an association?
I It all depends on the individual. I never really dealt with like how many. Like, some people do the minimal; they just join in and they get the most benefits. Other people, every single event that they have, they join it and it works for them. It all depends on you. It's kind of like, I would say it's kind of like a membership in a gym. Some people join a gym, they never show up. Some people go to the gym and they never get results. But it all it all varies, right? But I do recommend if you see something you really, really like, if there's a event that really strikes your eye and you really want to take advantage of it, definitely join in, see what it's like. Some people like going to events, some people don't. But if you see a benefit in the first few events you go to, it might help you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely if if you don't really get the returns on PMI, try to see a specific industry related organization like supply chain, retail association, something that you really are passionate about. Okay, and most likely they would have a organization, and most likely they also will have student membership that you can actually access and join as well. Okay, so definitely it is a great association to join in. There's network. You never know who you shake hands with, and definitely when you network with them, you put them on LinkedIn. It can go a long way for your career and your goals. Okay. All right. A couple of things, guys. Just to mention, as always, we always talk about key terms in our class. So don't forget, we also talk about key terms today. Some things I do want to take away from our class. Mentorship is so important, guys. Don't forget, mentorship is an important part of starting your career. Definitely, guys. We talked about PMI, and there's PMP, Project Manager Professional, or CAPM, a certification for an associate project management. And those are some options that I have for you. Okay. I always don't forget key terms, and always key terms do help you guys out. So you got to do, if you guys want to do more research about it, by all means, you could. Okay. Before we finish, a couple of things. Please, for the love of me, do not forget a couple of different items. Number one, please take a few moments to complete the end of the course survey. I value your input. I value how you enjoyed the class, and of course, what you took away from it. And definitely, it does help not just myself, but also Yorkville. Make sure that if you missed out on something, especially because it's a global class, because it's online, it's remote. What can we make better? Okay, we can only improve with your input, and definitely let us know what you guys think. Don't forget, guys, final grades are released to you guys in the grade area of both Moodle and WISES, no later than 10 business days following the end of the course date. So the last day of the course, I believe, is this week. What day is today? 22nd.
26 is the last day.
26, yes, 26. I was thinking 29, but I was way off. So it's a 26, and 10 days will be April. Let's push it to April the 5th or 6th. That's when the latest date of your marks will be posted. If you guys are not happy with the marks and you wish to appeal a grade of your appeal, you must attempt to first resolve the dispute with me, unfortunately, and see where the discrepancy might have been. However, we are a democratic organization and institute, and also consultation may take place no later than 3 business days after you petition your situation, usually commencing on the 11th day after the date of each course. You have to communicate with me either through email or Moodle if you would like. Should you not be happy after our conversation, that's okay. Yeah, you can always be able to escalate it. And that's not only in my class, in other classes. You can appeal to the dean of faculty 5 days after, following the decision of the faculty member. And of course, the specific reason for the appeal must be clearly stated and clarified. So again, guys, take this very seriously. If you need appeal, you can. But again, if you get like an 89, so here I want a 90, try not to go after that, because then if I say no and you go through the dean will investigate from the start to the finish, and the 89 percentile you get might go down. Okay. Trust me, it has been done before, not in my class, in other classes, where I had to come in and be the middleman between two disputes, and a student want to arbitrate something like an 85, 86, and we found out that there was plagiarism being done, all these other things. He missed out on some classes, and the 85 went down to like a 62. Okay, so it can go both ways. Okay, so you wanted to aim for a 95, end up being a 65. The elasticity is real. But please remember that specific appeals must be clearly stated and submitted in writing. Following the date of the student initial communication with your dean of faculty, which I believe is Pavlos Gigakis, the student has about 10 additional business days to provide documentation support of the appeal. During this period, the course instructor will make everything available to the dean, and the dean will be the middleman and could call another individual like Violet or Reza or whoever is going to be dealing with that to show all the relevant materials and determine the student's final grade at the end. And even that, which is kind of cool, within 5 business days, the dean will hold discussion with the student, with the mark, of course, and the faculty member will obtain background information resolving the dispute. The dean will submit their decision within 3 business days following the discussion, and the student may appeal now the decision of the dean to the president, whose final decision shall be final. Okay. So again, guys, if you are, in the borderline between pass and fail, definitely this will be more attractive to you. But please remember that the final appeal by the dean and president is a final call, and the final call is a final call. So again, cannot help it. But again, I was slated this semester to help out in other classes. So sometimes it doesn't turn out towards the student's advantages. Also on that front, guys, on appeal, please remember that if you really, really like this class and you want to use items from the class as a portfolio, awesome, I love that. Students, unfortunately, will lose access to the course material 4 weeks after the last day of class. I believe Mari said that March 26th is the last day of class. So 4 weeks after that is April 26th. Okay. So after April 26th, there's no more BUSI global class anymore for you. It will be deleted and it will disappear from Moodle. Any students wishing to keep your assignments and course materials, you must go in and save it. Okay, it's kind of like a locker. They tell you to take out things from your locker. You forgot about it, and you forgot your sneakers and your sandwich from you know June. Okay, unfortunately, by August the 1st, it will be taken away and thrown to the garbage. Okay. So again, same thing. You must save all the material within a 4-week period. Okay. Again, you would be surprised how many times students come back to me and say, "Hey, sir, I forgot, that amazing mark you gave me in, final assignment. Can I be able to get it from you?" I'll tell you, I have no server access. It's done. It's gone. It's deleted. It's in the abyss, and you snoozed for 4 weeks and you lose it. Okay. So you will not be able to retrieve this information after the course has been closed. So please, for the love of me, make sure to either download or save all the material. Okay. So if you want to have access to it, do it today. Okay. Don't do it on April 25th, because afterwards it's done. It's gone. Okay. So please do it as soon as possible. Okay. Other than that, guys, I mentioned to you that I was going to finish it in an hour. It took me a little longer. I did not take a break because I want to push everything together. But I just wanted, before we go, it was a pleasure to teach you guys. Thank you so much for joining BUSI 3613 from coast to coast, from the Philippines to China, India, all the way to Iran, in Nigeria, and even Toronto, Ontario, Canada. We were together, we were one, and I hope you enjoyed the class. I'm looking forward to hearing from you in the future and your success. Guys, don't be shy. Keep in touch with me. I want to hear about, any endeavors you have. If you're coming to Canada, let me know. If you are going to be joining us at Yorkville, let me know. I always love to hear from you guys. Let me know what's going on in your life. Send me an email. I always like to keep in touch with you. Get in contact with me. You can join me on LinkedIn. I always love to hear from you guys. I always love to see that students are succeeding and going into their endeavors, wherever they like. And with that being said, of course, that concludes our class. Thank you so much for being a part of this class. I wish you guys all the best. Good luck, and make sure that you stay safe, stay warm out there, and all the best. Okay. And with that being said, the class is adjourned. Take it easy. Stay safe out there. And one last outcome here. biddy. That's all, folks. I wish you guys all the best. And that's all she wrote for this class. Okay. So take it easy. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys here sometime later. Okay. Bye for now. Good luck and enjoy
Thank
your
you.
thank you, Jide. Been a pleasure.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome, Mari. Hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you guys have yourself a wonderful one. Take it easy and good luck in your endeavors.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome, Jenna. Good luck. Let me know what
Thank you.
goes up in Capcom. I want to hear from you. Okay.
Yes, thank
Good
you.
luck.
Will
You too.
do that?
You too. Okay. Take care. Have a good one, guys. Okay. All right. So have a good one. Take it easy. And I will talk to you guys very, very shortly. Okay. Bye for now. And I'm just going to talk to one student in a breakout room. Take it easy. And I'll talk to you later on. Take care, guys. Thank you. All right. The breakout room is open. If you guys are looking to talk to me, raise your hand and I will get to you very, very shortly. Thank you.
Hello, Professor.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello, Professor. I don't know if you can hear me or not
I could hear
properly.
you. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor. I just went through all my grades and see I missed two learning activity. I don't know why, but I know that Dean Pavlos, said about us Iranian student because of our very, very weak and cut network all the time and most of the time that we have time for every assignments and every due dates to the last week before grading with professor. If it's possible, just would you please give me a chance? I'm done with both learning activity right now and also my final paper somehow. Would you please give me time tonight to after my decision analysis exam, I will send all to you and submit my final paper in the model, please, because I don't want to miss grade for that.
Yeah, not a problem. But please do so before the due date because Unit 11 is very, very tricky because after Unit 11, Monday, Tuesday, after Unit 11, I need to submit it. So if you can do it as soon as possible, I will try to do my best to accommodate it. The only problem is depending on where the learning activity was, there will be two marks, okay? The mark that it's on Moodle and what's on Weiss's. So if it was in the beginning of the semester, there might be situations that might be complicated on it. I have to talk to Pavlos about it. But if it's on the other side, I might be able to do something. But try to focus right now on the bigger deliverables. Okay, the bigger deliverables, of course, are the assignment for your individual assignment, and now, of course, the assignment for the group work. So as long as you have those together, you should be okay. But when do you know the days of the learning outcome, like which number they were? Unit?
9 and 10, professor, just learning activity of
Okay.
9 and 10. I'm done with those both. Okay,
Okay.
just I should fix the format and send to you because I'm
Okay.
done with both. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So just submit it online as well. You can, I believe you can still submit it. And before the end of the semester, I'll try to go over it and give you a mark on it.
Thank you so much. And also, yes, we are done with our group work and PPT. I did my work. I
Okay.
did my homework, with my group. And also, I'm somehow done with my final paper. I should just review and means fix APA and all. Because I have in 1 hour, I will have decision analysis final exam just. I will do and fix everything after that. And I will try my best to send and post all works before tomorrow, professor. I think before 11 p.m. today.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
Yeah,
So
to be
I'll look,
done. Yes,
I'll
because
look forward to it, and I'll try to see it and then mark it accordingly.
thank you so much, Professor. Thank you so much for your support always. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. Take it easy, and I'll see you hopefully on campus one day.
Yeah, thank you. I hope so.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
You too. Take it easy. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye for now. All right. Any other question, Lily? Everything okay? Lily, Shutong? Nope. Nope. Okay. We're on?
It's fine.
Nope. All right. Does anyone need my assistance? Anything? Okay. All right. So guys, thanks. And we good. All right. No problem. No problem. You can stick around. Okay. Always a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you guys in the future, and take it easy.